Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back. I hope your weekend was absolutely outstanding. We have a tremendous live stream planned today. We've got a full case that has now been unsealed. Of course, we're paying close attention out in Fulton County, Fannyland in Georgia, to see what the latest is. We had the FBI raid get pallets full of ballots, and now we're looking at the lawsuit brought by Fulton County to get those pallets back. The order now unsealing the documents. We've got a little bit of a long road ahead because we're coming back tomorrow probably to see the search warrant unsealed. The DOJ given a little bit of time to take the wrapping off of that and deliver it for the public to see. And so we're going to be here for that one as well. But we've got SAVE Act battling brewing out there between the Democrats and the Republicans. They're very freaked out that the Republicans may be able to squeeze this one through and force them to have voter ID at the polls, something which huge swaths of Democrats ultimately want. And so it's going to be a beautiful stream. We've got documents. We loved unsealed documents here. Thank you for being here and subscribing and joining us as we hold these people accountable. And so, as you can see, we've got the order queued up. And so let's get right to it. Unsealed in Fulton County, Georgia. We've got the order coming down out of the Northern District of Georgia, the Atlanta Division. And this is the battle of Rob L. Pitts, this guy right here, who was in Fulton County explaining that arrests are coming after the FBI went and got the 2020 election records, of which we know are riddled with fraud and other problems. And if you missed this clip of this guy, he is the Fulton County chairman, the guy who runs the county board. And here's what he said some time ago about this raid.
In a previous comment, why do you feel like you're a target of this investigation?
Well, I'm told that. I've gotten I received a call on Monday before last Wednesday, before the raid, that there were going to be arrests in Georgia. Secretary of State, his deputy, Sterling, I believe his name is, me, and 2 or 3 others. That did not happen on Monday. It didn't happen on Tuesday, but lo and behold, on Wednesday, the FBI shows up. And in addition to the FBI showing up, when Tulsi Gabbard showed up and we'd heard a rumor that she may be coming, I couldn't believe it. But I didn't meet her, didn't talk to her, but she was in fact there. So that leads me to believe, and any rational thinking person, that there's something sinister going on here. There's something bigger than just the FBI confiscating the records that they took. So that's why I say that. But nothing happened. Now, after the FBI raid on Wednesday, on Friday I received another call. Actually, it was this Monday. Same source saying that you guys can't relax.
Don't rest easy.
Even though the FBI has been there and they've confiscated the 700 boxes, arrests are coming. Woo! So we'll have to wait and see.
We are going to wait and see. And they sued. They said, we want those documents back. We cannot allow you to have evidence that can be used in our prosecution. And so the docket is filled with a bunch of people skidding in here. You can see we had back in February, and this was all unsealed until the weekend, we had emergency motions coming in from all sorts of different bodies out there in Georgia. We'll come back to this, but the judge over the weekend on Saturday said, dun, 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 now the case has been unsealed, saying a couple things happened. One, Rob Pitts, the guy that we just heard from, and the Fulton County Board of Registration, they sued the United States of America. They wanted the FBI to turn those documents back, say, return the item seized pursuant to a search warrant. And thus far, they've submitted a bunch of stuff, an emergency motion to get those files back, a motion to unseal the affidavit, which the judge said we should get tomorrow, another emergency motion pursuant to local rules, and another emergency motion to determine whether we can even file these things under seal. The judge said, all right, look, all of this is currently sealed. And although we filed this under seal, both parties, so the Fulton County people and the DOJ, are okay with unsealing all of this. The DOJ, the FBI, they say, hey, we've already gotten the files. We don't need to keep this under seal anymore. And so sure, look inside. They don't oppose also respondent, in this case, the FBI and the DOJ, they don't oppose unsealing the search warrant affidavit either. And so the judge says, given the importance of the public's access to this matter, the clerk is directed to unseal this case. We now are looking at it. The clerk is further directed to unseal the motions from Fannie, Land, and Fulton. And as to the search warrant affidavit, the DOJ has until the close of business tomorrow to unseal the affidavit, which is the justification for the raid in the first place and the search. And so we're going to see that probably tomorrow. We're going to do a docket refresh while we're live here and then see if that shows up for us. But if it doesn't, we'll be back tomorrow to come get it. But of course, we've had a lot of questions about what's going on in Fulton County. We've got all these emergency motions filed. And I wanted to just fast forward a little bit to show you this receipt. So this was attached in one of their exhibits. Fulton County submitted their lawsuit. They said, give us those files back. And they sent in a picture of this as another exhibit, Exhibit 2, as you can see here. And it shows us the pallets full of ballots, all the things that we've got now in FBI possession. And it's a lot of stuff. And you can see 28 boxes here in one pallet. Over here, we're going to be battling over boxes because they're saying the box numbers don't match up. We're missing some boxes. Where did the missing boxes go? But here, multiple pallets. All right, boom. Pallet 7, 23 boxes, 44 boxes, 23 more over here, 28 boxes over here. These are all of the election records that we have been trying to get our hands on for years now. They all have been shifted into DOJ jurisdiction, and we're looking forward to seeing what they discover for us. But here, of course, is the docket. So they came in as soon as the raid happened, and they were filing a bunch of things. Motion for a return of property, unseal the affidavit, working on that, another emergency motion, and then motions to intervene. Okay, Axios Media is coming skidding in here. What's going on in this case? Let us intervene. Then we see even more. NBC, USA Today, Politico, all screeching in here. Then over the weekend on Saturday, unseal the case. More notice of appearance from lawyers all coming crashing in here. Then Georgia Fulton County Board of Registration that wants to join this case. Oh, look who it is. Abby Lowell, that same attorney who represents like all the big Democrats. Norm Eisen just showed up on the docket. Amazing. So the Democrat super lawyers are coming in here. Norm Eisen, John Bolin, and more. All coming in, man. This is the epicenter of our election battle. You know, just by virtue of who is showing up here. Judges granting them, allowing certain attorneys to come in, and the case now continues. So here is what they sent. Now, the reason this is fun is because they'll walk us through what happened when the FBI was there from their perspective. We'll be able to see the recitation of the facts here. But this is the emergency motion from Rob Pitts and the freaked out Fulton County people saying on January 28th, a glorious day indeed, the United States government obtained a search warrant, and it was a good search warrant too. We can't wait to read it. The United States executed that warrant later that day, and they seized 656 boxes, baby, containing the original versions of the 2020 election materials from Fulton County. And they're unhappy about this. So now we're suing. We want you to return all of the original materials, or at least give us copies of what you seized. That is from just the initial filing, and they attached a big fat memo on the other end of it. Here is where that starts. They say, all right, the Fulton County Chairman, Board of Commissioners, and others say you stole these documents from us. And courts look to 4 factors to see whether this court can exercise, and this is, a little strange because the court, there's an active criminal investigation going on right now. And so they're suing in a different court to say, you use your power to go tell that other judge, another judge in Missouri granted a search warrant and said, yeah, go find it. There's probable cause here. Go get all the evidence. Good luck. So now they're going back to Georgia, right, in a different court. The search warrant is from a different state, and they're saying, Judge, you in Georgia need to reach over there in Missouri and say that judge's search warrant is basically invalid and order the FBI, the DOJ, to give us back our materials. Now, if these are election records, which are pretty important, if these were illegal alien records, like you could almost guarantee that would happen. But because these are election records and not illegal aliens, we're not really sure what this judge is going to do, but we'll see. So here they say, look, there's a bunch of reasons we can get it. They're callously disregarding the Fourth Amendment. No, they're not. They went and got a search warrant that was signed off on by a federal judge who did Fourth Amendment analysis and granted a search warrant. Idiots. All right, so then they continue. They say this seizure is callous disregard for our efforts. There's a 5-year statute of limitations, and this seizure is disregarding our Fourth Amendment rights. It's like, no, the judge signed off on it. Okay, so we're going to get past their little intro here. And in sum, They say that this conduct deprived us in Fannyland of our constitutional rights. And what's going to happen if these records don't get returned? We're going to die. So accordingly, this court should consider on an expedited basis to go invalidate the other judge and make the judge give the records back. Here's the facts, and this is where it gets a little bit more fun. So on January 28th, the United States obtained a search warrant under seal from Magistrate Judge, Salinas. It is in this district. Wow. So it is in Georgia. See, our rumors, and we don't know. We haven't seen the search warrant yet. So we're all coming to this for the first time. The search warrant actually came in this district from a magistrate judge. Wow. In Exhibit 1, all of it's redacted, and that is still redacted. So we have still not seen that yet. You can see some of these exhibits they've attached here for us. For example, Exhibit 1 is redacted. And when we look into that, the official document that they're referencing for us, here's what it looks like. All right. So we can't see it. Exactly. What is that? We don't know. All right, so they continue and they explain as we get to the right document. They say redacted, redacted, redacted. Now, later that day, FBI agents executed the search warrant. Now, the seized materials are original records from the 2020 election in Fulton County that were held under seal by the clerk of the court in Georgia. And under Georgia law, those records are supposed to be safeguarded by us. And they have everything. They're in sealed containers. They've got voided ballots. They've got stubs. They've got numbered lists. They got voters' tally sheets, voter machine proof, absentee ballots, related documentation, and more. And so the FBI took the records from our custody, and Georgia law says we have to have those documents. So as set out in detail in our simultaneously filed motion to unseal the affidavit and the search warrant, the warrant was based on debunked claims of voter fraud in Georgia. Not that debunked. Apparently, the judge thought that there was something pretty credible there. And Fulton County. And these allegations of fraud have been exhaustively reviewed. And so they explain. Now, 3 related legal proceedings have been pushing forward here. We've covered, I think, all of them. In September of 2024, a member of the Fulton County BRE, Board of Registration and Elections, I think, sued Fulton in Superior Court seeking a declaration that her duty to certify elections was discretionary and that she needs access to the materials. Then in November, Fulton County filed a petition in Superior Court to quash 2 subpoenas. And so this has been going on for a long time. And we have even more litigation that took place today in front of Judge McAfee. Remember him? Right over here. We had even more battles over the records, which we'll get to shortly. November 24, Fulton County filed a petition to quash those subpoenas. And the battle has been brewing over there. Robert McBurney, locally, denying the quashal, and the battle continues. Then the DOJ came in. Trump administration sought the same 2020 Fulton County materials through demand letters and federal litigation. We recall back in October last year, the DOJ sent a letter over to the Board of Elections demanding inspection of all the records in your possession. And we also sent you a subpoena. Okay, civilly, we've been asking for these records. Can you please cooperate with us? Federal law says under the NVRA, under HAVA. Did you have an obligation when the AG requests these things to give them to us? Will you do that? Answer no. The board responded saying, sorry, these are under seal and we can't give these to you absent a court order. So then in November last year, the DOJ wrote to the clerk. They said, listen, clerk, you have to give us these records. Then on December 11th, they sued. We absolutely covered that case. Harmeet Dillon is launching lawsuits in a number of states because they're refusing to deliver their election records. Federal law says they have to. They refuse to because they know that they have lots of rigging going on. The DOJ sued Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, and wanted everything. I want birth dates, addresses, driver's license numbers, and all the things. Then on January 28th, while both the Allen case in state court and Alexander case were also pending, and while the state court had already authorized some of this, the DOJ, okay, all this stuff is pending. The DOJ says enough already. Okay, there are records. We're coming for them. The DOJ got the warrant, physically removed the original sealed records from the clerk's lawful custody. Not that lawful. So they're very unhappy about this. They say, first of all, the Constitution, let's see if they're honest, addresses 2 types of power over federal elections: time, place, and manners in Congress and the warrant. And in applying for the warrant, they relied on the election records retention provision. Okay, we can't see that yet. but I'm sure they have. The Attorney General, they write, even citing U.S. Code, this is clear, the Attorney General may make a demand in writing for the records. And they did that. And we've talked about these. The NVRA, federal law, says you can demand these records. And that's what they did. Now, Georgia passed its own laws, okay? All of these states saying, no, we're not going to cooperate with the feds, almost like sanctuary election policies, mandating records retention, and its retention period exceeds Title III, at least 24 months and more. And so we have now been aggrieved, more legal stuff. You want to see some more application of the rules? Here we go. So the seizure, they say, in Fulton's election records, it disregards core constitutional principles. Baseless, debunked voter fraud claims. Well, we don't even know what's in their affidavit yet, but we're going to find out. Further, the very same records are the subject of ongoing litigation, right, which we've talked about previously. So it appears that Trump and the DOJ became impatient with the pace of civil litigation, and instead they opted for a highly public execution of a criminal search warrant. And so that is a callous disregard of our rights. They say, well, we respond. Well, a judge signed off on it. They say, we don't care. The fact that a neutral judge issued a warrant doesn't undermine our argument. As is laid out in our other motion, multiple federal states and other people already investigated this and said there is no systemic voter fraud. And by the way, they didn't actually investigate it. That's the problem. Senator Perdue made that very clear to Nathan Wade, Fani Willis's lover. When he was under grand jury investigation, he testified that he reported these things to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, the guy who was working for Brian Kemp at the time, and said, hey, I've got evidence of ballot drop boxes. I've got financial transactions that prove all of this. Can you please investigate it? The Senator Perdue responded and said, nope, I got a phone call from the guy who said Brian Kemp called him and said, if you want to be a team player, you're not going to investigate this, and pass that message back on to the senator. So nothing was really investigated at all. They keep saying it. They say that because they received a complaint and then rejected the complaint, that means that they looked into it and validated that there's no there. But they never did any of that. It was just a token reception and then an automatic refusal. Then that guy got appointed to be a judge in Superior Court in Fulton County. So respondents sought the warrant as if these were credible, and we think that they are credible. Although the underlying affidavit is sealed, so we can't read it, not yet, petitioners are moving to unseal it, and it likely recycled those allegations. So you guys don't even know. You're writing this, you haven't even read it. Further, if they obtain the warrant on a knowingly or recklessly false material misleading basis, then there cannot be no probable cause. Once again, the judge validated the whole thing. So at the very least, this is not reasonable. Tell that to the judge. At most, the warrant is invalid. Tell it to the judge. All right, so respondent has shown callous disregard. And also, this warrant violates our rights. Neither statute supports the seizure of records 6 years after the election. That's their other little scam attempt. Just wait. Just keep kicking the can down the road. Eventually, everybody will burn themselves out. The entire, election's over. Joe Biden had his 4 years wrecking the country. Will you just move on, MAGA? Will you just leave it alone? So what? No, we are not letting go of this at all. So here, this is a record retention statute, and we're only obligated to hold these things for 22 months. But they came and stole them from us. These are years after the retention period has lapsed. And so there are criminal provisions that can be imposed on these things, but respondent has not identified any new conduct that might create a criminal fraud theory. Wow. So in other words, they're saying the statute of limitations is already expired. All right. Most crimes are 5-year statutes of limitations, which means once the clock expires, you're out of luck. If you're the prosecutor, can't prosecute anybody, which is why we were flipping out over the James Comey dismissal, because his 5 years is up. Many 5 years are up now, and we're, not happy about it. But they say it's old. It's too old. So even if they got the records and found crimes, they can't charge anybody with crimes. So you shouldn't grant a warrant because they can't prosecute anybody because we escaped justice. Further, they say this sweeping seizure is an impermissible use of the criminal process. You're already suing on this. And the DOJ responded to this in the civil case. It's hilarious because they're like, well, we can't really use this civil case anymore because we were suing for the records, but now we've got the records. So we're going to have to stay and put this case on pause. Although parallel civil litigation does not mean that you can't get a criminal search warrant, now they're trying to use this to leapfrog these other cases, and they can't do that. So the election clause says, yeah, state legislatures hold the primary place for governing elections. We know all that. And Congress can from time to time also set the rules of the election. They did that. It's called HAVA. It's called NVRA. You guys haven't given any records over. States are not free to just run fraudulent elections and just have no recourse for the rest of the country. You have to honor our illegal senators called Ossoff and Warnock and just deal with it because we stole it and there's nothing you can do about it. It's not how our Constitution is set up. The founders are not that dumb. They thought about this. So the DOJ seizure of records infringes upon our jobs. We can't safeguard the election. Are you joking me? We're going to show just how badly their elections are maintained in just a minute. But also they're calling in First Amendment rights. First Amendment is under attack. Tulsi Gabbard came out and they're trying to get data. And now they're trying to chill voter participation and undermine secrecy in the ballots. And so since we win on all of these claims, we want these records returned. The seizure of these records, rather than making copies of these things, strips us of being able to do our job. We can't secure our own election history. And this is not a mere grievance. We're being murdered here in Fulton. So finally, the fourth factor, there is no adequate remedy. Judge, we need you to give us the files. It's difficult to imagine how an affidavit supports probable cause, let's see, given the required retention period is already expired. Okay, technical expiration, essentially. There's a process problem. You've run out of time. You can't charge us now. So that's why you can't take the records. Number two, the record lacks evidence of ongoing newly discovered criminal activity. You don't know that at all. The warrant's sweeping authorization to seize everything is overbroad. And given the length of these widely debunked voter fraud theories, and they have not been widely debunked, where's the explanation of the poll tapes, for example? There isn't one. How come Brian Kemp found 30 plus discrepancies that they could not explain, that he wrote about in a letter, and then suddenly there is no there? Joe Biden is the president and John Ossoff is now the new senator. Incredible. How come that happens? Where's the explanation for that? There isn't. They all just say, oh no, we got it. We've already investigated it. Well, can you show me the investigation that you conducted? How many people did you talk to? How many documents did you subpoena? How many interviews did you complete? Did you do any depositions? Did you impanel a grand jury? No. They didn't. Respondents' own investigative history and public record negate the very fraud theories, blah, blah, blah. So for the reasons stated herein, we want you, Judge, to give us all of the materials and return them immediately. And make sure that they maintain but not review any of the materials. Order them not to look at the evidence that's going to result in our prosecution. Okay. And require respondent to provide access to the affidavit and all other evidence on any factual issue necessary. Also conduct a hearing, order any other relief. This is from Y. Suju in Georgia. Y. Suju in Georgia. All right. So they sent that in. And of course, the DOJ has responded in the civil case. And before we get there, because the DOJ, this one's pretty fun. They're like, well, we can pause this case because we already got the documents that we were demanding in this case. In the civil matter, we got it in the criminal case. But we also then saw this declaration of Nadine. And Nadine Williams, you've seen many times out there in multiple videos that we've covered here. She is the director of elections. And she writes this as a declaration in support of the request to have the records returned. She says, I am the director of Fulton County. I've been there for 16 years, and I've served as interim director for 4, and now as the director for 4. Prior to that, I was Fulton County elections chief back from 2020 to 2022, and a manager before that. Now, as director of this agency, I oversee all of the logistics, the certification, the delivery, the storage, and more. And this area is a 600,000 square foot warehouse, primarily used for the Board of Elections. Operations and storage. It opened in 2023. They fulfill a bunch of other things. They do asset management, marshal service, blah, blah, blah. And the DRE stores election records. In fact, they've got 261,000 square feet in the hub that is dedicated to all of this stuff. After each election, we prepare records related to that election for storage. And the Secretary of State of Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, and the clerk of Fulton County, who is, I believe, Che, the other guy who's being sued, they log the documents and they have everything in there. Absentee ballot oath envelopes, absentee ballot recap sheets, numbered list of voters, recap sheets over here. The list goes on. Copies, manager's oath, custodian records, assistant's oath, official results, electronic file with ballot images, numbered list. It goes on. Poll pads, everything. Now, for the records given to the custody of the clerk of the court, we prepare labels, nice little label makers. Everybody goes down, print it out, stick it on. The clerk of the Superior Court maintains a separate warehouse, and boxes are stored all over the place. Pallets are organized roughly by the date of the election, and then they're stuffed on industrial shelving. Looks like that scene in Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Lost Ark, or whatever it's called. The clerk of the Superior Court retains the records for 24 months, although these have been ordered to be maintained because of all the lawsuits. They just say, keep holding them, keep holding them, keep holding them. The November 20 election records remained under seal because they were the subject of litigation. Should have read it. On Wednesday, I was working remotely from my home, says Nadine. Wow. Didn't even go into the office. She's sitting there, probably with a bag of Cheetos, flipping through whatever, the daily sitcoms. Oh, crap. I was notified at 12:32. Hey, Nadine, text message. FBI, I think FBI's here. Huh? What? I was present at the election hubs. So then at 12:37, I called the police. Takes her a few minutes to get her, situation together. She calls the police chief called Wade Yates. FBI is over at the county building and advised him that no physical copy of a warrant had been presented to the election staff. So then she's like, oh, crap. Hops in the shower, gets ready, throws some clothes on, hops in, drives to the elections hub, gets there at 1:30 p.m., racing over there. Upon entering the building and approaching the warehouse and the area used by the clerk, I observed, Nadine, 25 to 30 individuals. That's a nice crew there, wearing jackets or vests marked FBI in a hallway outside the clerk's warehouse. I also observed the presence of county officials and staff who were all there. Then I observed FBI personnel in the hallway outside the clerk's warehouse waiting for an amended search warrant. We played the video here last week. A corrected description of the location to be searched and more. Now, once the amended search warrant was obtained and brought to the elections hub, so, all right, yeah, that's us, I proceeded to the clerk's warehouse with the FBI personnel. I remained in the clerk's warehouse during the warrant execution to assist this and help them identify boxes with all the 2020 records. I personally observed the process whereby the FBI removed 656 boxes from the premises. That's a lot. That's why we needed all of those trucks. Although a member of my staff noted 656 boxes on their log of boxes removed, which we looked at, which is right here. So this is Che Alexander, clerk of the courts. Here's the street address. They attach this. This is probably Nadine and her fingernail paint right there. Takes a photo of it. She's counting all the boxes. She goes 11 plus 29 plus 27, pallets full of ballots, 14 boxes, and more. And continues on. Says, these were removed. The volume of the boxes and the speed with which the records were loaded onto the trucks for removal resulted in an estimated box count per pallet rather than an exact count. Okay, so those numbers are like, I don't know, like counting, okay, 6 across, 6 high, or 36, how many deep? All right, that's 115 boxes. So based on my observation, I would estimate that closer to 700 boxes of election records were taken. So is it 656 or is it 700? Do we have a discrepancy in the boxes? What's in those boxes? Were those all the extra ballots? So the process to remove the boxes, as I observed, went as follows. For each pallet of boxes containing November 2020 election records, FBI agents placed a marker with an assigned number on each pallet. Then photographed the pallet from multiple sides, and you need to chronicle the evidence. Not any different than what you see in the TV shows on a murder scene. Okay, bodies on the ground, put the things over here. You got Dexter up here measuring the blood splatter, whatever. So they come in here, except this is a fraudulent election. The blood is American representation happening. So noting the estimated number of boxes, they then removed the boxes from the warehouse. They put them on forklifts and they just took them right over to Pam Bondi's desk. Now at approximately 8 p.m., the day is a long one. She showed up there about 1:30. I observed a second group of individuals in civilian clothing without visible law enforcement markings arrive at the clerk's warehouse area. Men in black show up. I heard FBI personnel refer to the group of individuals as being, quote, from DC. Maybe it's Tulsi and her crew. FBI personnel also stated that DNI Tulsi Gabbard was there. The men in black show up. These individuals were not introduced to Fulton County officials or staff. They don't need to talk to you. I remained at the hub until approximately 9 p.m. Then I heard from FBI personnel. They informed officials and staff, we're done here. We concluded the execution of the search warrant. Now it's time to go home. Then after 9 p.m., Nadine says, I was leaving the election hub parking lot. I witnessed the box trucks leaving the parking lot as well. And to my knowledge, Fulton County officials and staff on site complied fully with the instructions of the FBI. And I declare all this true under penalty of perjury, courtesy of Nadine Williams. And of course, you know who she is. We saw her in the body cam footage from last week. So feds come in. Interesting little discrepancy here. How many total boxes were retrieved? Don't know that it's that big of a deal. They might, do an inventory, like a search after the search warrant execution. But you can see maybe they'll say that there are extra boxes that they took that are not accounted for, because it sounds like they took everything. Like they didn't leave anything behind. So more will be revealed on that. But they say we need all those boxes back. Give them back to us immediately. And in the companion case, we also saw the DOJ submitted this after the raid occurred. So U.S. of America suing Che Alexander. This is also in Georgia, but this is the civil case. Now we've got the records, so we don't need to sue to go get the records civilly because we got a search warrant for them and we can just go get them right now, which they did. But the DOJ responded, and of course, this is fun. They say on December 11th, before the raid occurred, the United States filed the sole complaint in this matter. We said you're violating the Civil Rights Act. You have an obligation to give us the records. You haven't done that. We sent you multiple letters. We've attached them all. Then they opposed these. And we had a back and forth, okay? Motion to dismiss the complaint. You can't have our records. Raffensperger says it's going to be illegal if somebody has a social security number of a Georgian, even though the Social Security Administration is a federal agency. But they continue. The DOJ explains, this has been a lot of work. We are supposed to file a response, or they're supposed to file a response next week, but we're not really going to need that. Do you know why? Here's why. On January 28th, the FBI executed a search warrant at Fulton County. And the United States now brings this motion. We're going to ask for a stay because we already got the records. In fact, we brought this action to go get the election records. We demanded all records in your possession, give them to us. You didn't do that. Then on January 28th, federal law enforcement executed a search warrant for the documents that should be responsive to the documents in this case. And so all that to say, here, these are overlapping with each other. At issue are the same records. And so the records seized are the object of this litigation. And so we don't really need this case to move forward. We've already found probable cause in getting the record by a magistrate of this court. He said, yep, there's evidence of a crime, there's evidence of contraband or something illegally possessed and more, following the rules of criminal procedure. So we don't need the civil case anymore. Any action that they take in this case will actually encourage them to commit criminal exposure, perhaps, because we're prosecuting them now. So we don't expect them to respond in this matter because it might be incriminating. So we'll move for a stay. We don't want to interfere in the Civil Rights Division with a criminal prosecution, which is already happening. This action sought records going back 5 years. And so we don't need to actually move forward because the criminal division has picked up the ball and they're running with it. Super Bowl analogy. The records at issue here are of great public interest, by the way. And so a cautious approach where you stay this case so the criminal case can proceed ensures the public interest will be preserved. And if something goes wrong in the criminal case, we can come back here and we'll pick it up back here. So we ask for a stay, further request that you preserve any records, that the Fulton County people, Harmeet's team, saying they should preserve any records that are in their possession, signed by Eric Neff, acting chief over with Harmeet's team and the Civil Rights Division. So DOJ saying we don't actually need any of that at all. And it continues. So then they said, we want to unseal the affidavit. But before we get there, let me share with you, I think this is the warrant cover sheet, which they were referencing. They attached it. Nope, that's the, sorry, wrong document. What was Exhibit 3? I thought that they gave us, no, okay, so here's some more documents. Yeah, there's some other documents that they sent for us here. I think that's Nadine's letter. Yeah, all right, so I think we got the highlights of that. Oh gosh, bouncing all over the place over here. But now, let's go take a look at this document, because this was the motion to unseal the affidavit, and we're waiting for the affidavit to get dropped. In fact, let's do a refresh while we're here to see if this has dropped already. It has not. All right, so here is the motion to unseal, and then we'll take a look at the actual brief as well. Motion to unseal. They say, all right, and the judge granted this with no opposition from the DOJ, so the DOJ will presumably get this to us tomorrow. But here's what they ask. They say, on January 28th, special agent with the FBI called Hugh Raymond Evans. What's up, Hugh? Shout out. He did submit an affidavit under seal in the Northern District of Georgia. This is not in Missouri. On that day, the court granted the search warrant. The United States executed it. Boom, 656 documents, boxes of documents seized. Why? Suju says we need to now see what's in that affidavit. Not a lot here from them. They say, first of all, on January 28th, redacted, 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 something happened. And on that day, redacted, redacted, redacted. And so we ask that you unseal the affidavit, and the raid, of course, occurred. And so we're waiting for that to drop. Let's see if there's anything else good before we show you just how absolutely rigged the elections are. Motion for miscellaneous relief. Let's take a look at these two while we're here. And we've got sealed filings. A lot of the stuff still under seal. We also move the court to waive time in briefing so we can respond to these things, because we don't even know what we're dealing with. Haven't even seen a lot of the records yet, so we need more time. No problem, the judge will say. We respect you waive the time requirements until we figure out what's going on. So that's the latest. Now, the judge, of course, is not received yet the unsealed search warrant from the DOJ, but as soon as that drops, likely tomorrow, we'll be here to cover that. But the response has been, as we saw from Pitts, that this is all an attack on Georgia and that they've already investigated these things and gotten to the bottom of it. But we know that's just simply not true. Remember this story from Rasmussen reports that rewinds the clock back to this filing from 2025. And he says, yeah, Dominion systems can have modems that do connect to certain things. We've been asking ourselves, why was Tulsi Gabbard there? They were obviously freaked about it. Nadine was freaked about it. We know that we got Maduro in custody. Maduro's CIA guy down there, the head of their intelligence, is also in custody. And remember this conversation with the Venezuelan engineer who said it doesn't matter if they switch off their modems. We can just turn them back on. Conversation goes like this. Question. Do the computers made in China and Taiwan include circuits that can communicate with the internet that we use in our elections from China? Correct. Yeah, they have internal modems that allow for external communication, and it is the responsibility of each one of the different corporations to disable those components or to leave them enabled for the elections. Okay. All right. Now, can the firmware keep those modems enabled even if the software commands the system to disable the modem? In other words, can you have firmware that allows the modem to remain on even when the software thinks it's off? Can you do that? Yeah, of course. Yes. Well, for that, you would need an engineer that understands the Windows pipeline system, and which will allow you to block certain parameters within the system. But though the operating system and through the operating system, I can then enable that component. So in other words, the answer to your question is yes, we can turn the modems on whenever the hell we want. And Clay Parikh, of course, is duking it out with Garen Archer over on X. And there's a lot of these election, reporters who think that they just know 100% for sure that there's no fraud anywhere. But Clay Parikh is saying, this is pretty interesting. What's something that's happening in these tabulator tapes that is a little concerning? Yeah, this is interesting. All the serial numbers are exactly the same across different tabulators. So here on this one, tabulator ID 324, unit serial number and protective counter matches for different tabulator IDs. This one's 713, this one's 269, this one's 2630, this one's 2590. And all of the serial numbers, all of the units are essentially the same. So are we copy and pasting machines? How can one machine that has a serial number be in multiple locations? At this location, tabulator over here, tabulator at Chastain Park, tabulator at Buckhead Library, tabulator at All Rec Center, all have the same serial number. Well, that's a little weird. How come? Well, we're going to find out because we have the records now. We're looking forward to digging into those. Now, here's more. Jason Frazier was in court today testifying. If you're not following him, he's out there in Fulton County. He testified in court today in front of Scott McAfee. I've got it queued up here. Trying to fix Georgia elections. Man, shout out to our friends in Georgia who are digging in on this. He said he was there today, and guess whose court he was in? Right there, Judge McAfee. Isn't that beautiful? So we've been asking for records for a long time. Judge McAfee, of course, is the inspector general who apparently was investigating the fraud in 2020, found nothing, then got appointed to a superior court position by Brian Kemp, the governor, then is randomly assigned Fannie Willis's case, even though he donated to Fannie Willis, and so did his wife. He's now in charge of making decisions over election fraud. Isn't that fun? So here's a little bit of an exchange today, and the testimony here is about records requests. And the gentleman that you just saw here, Jason Frazier, is saying that he got records requests. And he was looking for all of the people who demanded records from Georgia. Okay, I want a full list of everybody who said they have a records request into Georgia, which is this guy. He submitted records requests, but Georgia didn't do anything with them. And now we have got testimony confirming that the requests coming in were just dumped right into the shredder. Here's a little bit of the testimony from today. It was about 4 hours long, and here's an excerpt.
The Secretary of State, I believe, open records request 709, requesting logs of all the open records requests submitted.
Yes.
And what was provided to you?
I was provided, an invoice, I guess first off for $13.22. And then I was given 5 different files electronically, an Excel file. I can read through those if you need me to. But a CSV file, which is titled ORR log 2025 redacted. Another file titled ORR 2025 CONTD X, and that's an Excel file. I guess to shorten it a little bit, it looks like the document 250814_043009 redacted. ORR log 2024 redacted, and I'm not sure why this one was in there, but ORR log 2025 398 onward redacted.
In those open records requests, did you review and look over those?
Yes.
Did you see my name, the plaintiff's name, Brant Meadows, anywhere in those logs?
No.
Those logs started from January 2024 and went until September, approximately, on or about the 29th of 2025. That's the length of those logs?
That's correct.
And nowhere in those logs did you ever see my name ever presented as a requester?
I did not see your name there.
And would you read from me from what you requested in your, my point is to see if you requested all. I believe you
Yes.
did, but I wanted to hear for the record.
It's a short description. Exactly what I requested was I would like a list of all ORRs submitted between 2024 and today. And then I go on to say, please include request number and description. I am simply looking for an easy to download or an easy download that takes less than 15 minutes. If that time frame needs to be reduced to accomplish that, feel free. If you can add more with the click of a button, please add more. Excel format or CSV is preferred. Essentially, all I was looking for was the documentation. I didn't want to create an onerous request. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on this. So if they could give me more, I would absolutely like to have more. But if they needed to go to a shorter time frame because I was more looking for 2025 documents, or I could break it up if that was necessary. That was what I was going for.
So they did not even log his requests as they came in, and now he's suing, and the record battle continues because these people are just obstructionists, and you have to go in there and drag it out of them, even though the law says you have the right to submit a records request, and they have to comply within certain dates and times. But the whole thing is just slow-moving obstruction, and then they turn around and they're like, you've investigated it. Stop being a conspiracy theorist. Everything has already been debunked. It's like you can't even look at the files, which is why we're happy we've now got them. And if you missed it, we also did have the body cam footage, which we talked about last week, but it looks a little different now that we've read Nadine's declaration. And here is the short version of the body cam from what went down after the raid, during the raid.
We have the right to be here, and we've been very nice.
So did anybody get a physical copy of the search warrant?
No.
When did they get here?
About 12:30.
Just unannounced.
Unannounced.
I'm gonna try and have the names of everybody that was out here. I already know how it's gonna go, but I mean, if they refuse, that's on them. Thank you. All right, so we were given very limited information.
So we have a search warrant for us, like literally for the entire location.
Okay.
But now we're going to get amending another search warrant for another location called state. So we'll have that pretty soon. So
This is all in regards to election side stuff.
where we're here, right? So I can't discuss more.
I got you.
More than that, but as long as we keep, the big thing is just trying to keep media. Someone let media in here and keep media clear out of here.
What's happening now is that they're
That's
wording it
Nadine. We just read her
wrong. They have the
affidavit.
wrong- It's not in elections
Declaration.
possession, it's in clerk's possession, so they have the wrong department.
So on our end, nobody received a copy of.
The attorneys asked them for it, they finally gave them a copy. Then the attorney's like, it's wrong, so they're allegedly waiting for the judge to update it.
What was wrong on there? It was
It
labeled
didn't say,
fraud.
it just says, elections, which we don't have it, which they knew that before they got here.
The warrant will be amended slightly, but for all intents and purposes, what they had is what it's going to look like. We wanted to let her facilitate us moving through the building to unlock the gates so that we don't have to breach it, because
I got you.
one way or the other, the records are coming with us today.
One way or another, we're getting the records. So that's what's continuing in Fulton today. We have state senator called Greg Dolezal. He says it's a mess out there. We need the feds to come in here and pass the SAVE Act. Here's what he had to say.
We've got to pass the SAVE Act, and that's really obviously on Congress to do that. The Trump administration has come out strong in favor of voter ID. This is another one of those 90-10 issues, right? We believe that you should be a citizen to vote in America. We believe that citizens should be able to show their ID. Democrats consistently lock down against this position, but this is a cornerstone of election integrity, and I believe this will be one of the greatest gifts that President Trump's legacy leaves with America, that we will once and for all have election integrity in this country and end the need to question who is voting, how they're voting, and we will know that only citizens are voting with photo ID in America.
And they keep saying that photo ID is going to lead to voter suppression. Obviously, that's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, maybe some voter suppression for illegal alien or duplicate ballots coming in. We don't want those, so that's good. We do want to suppress illegal votes. That's part of the equation. But here's another rep called Brian Steele. He said all this fear-mongering about election integrity is back. They hate it. Democrats said the same thing when Georgia passed their 2021 election integrity law. And here is now what he is saying about how more integrity actually increases voter turnout.
But let's look at the empirical data. The Democrats made similar arguments when the state of Georgia implemented voter integrity legislation.
Right.
We saw President Biden at that time call it Jim Crow 2.0. He would ultimately get called out for making false statements about the legislation. Georgia's run 2 major statewide elections.
Yeah.
And voter participation in Georgia did not plummet as the Democrats demagogued. What we actually saw was significant high participation continuing in the state of Georgia. The University of Georgia, or Georgia State, ran a massive survey to determine how did people experience the election in the state of Georgia. Overwhelmingly, the operations of the election were popular, and it's really important that that's true across all key demographic groups. And statistically, the survey found that 0% of blacks had a poor negative experience voting. That's really important. That's a good thing. And ultimately, what we see is people participating because they have confidence the elections are being run fairly and accurately. But
right, and your voice actually matters. Your vote doesn't matter as much if it's diluted. If a Democrat gets 2 votes and you get 1, then they are beating you. They've got double the vote share that you do. And it's inappropriate to allow that to happen. And it disenfranchises people who say, why the hell would I even go vote if the whole system is rigged? That's not how you govern yourselves. And so it cannot be allowed. So we're going to keep our eye on this. The case has been unsealed. Rob Pitts is very nervous. They've told us arrests are coming, and the unsealed warrant should be back here tomorrow on this case. And so please return because it's going to be juicy. Now, we've got more on the SAVE Act because this is pretty embarrassing for Senator Jon Ossoff. He is now out adamantly opposing any type of voter ID, and that's to their detriment. Here's the latest. Senator Ossoff embarrasses himself. He, of course, is now out ranting and raving about voter IDs in elections. And it turns out he mandated voter ID, or rather campaign rally attendance ID, at one of his events. And Mike Collins over there in Georgia, their war room they set up, said this is bizarre. Look at this. If you have to go to Jon Ossoff's rally in Atlanta, guess what you have to bring with you? Oh, government issued photo ID, which is rich because he's a Democrat who's now flip-flopped harder than anybody on voter ID because he's a senator out of Georgia. And Georgia, in Fannyland in Fulton County, is rigged, as we've known for a long time. So they sent that out to a bunch of people. We're excited to have you come rally for our republic. Invitation only, non-transferable. Don't you transfer your vote. It's intended for the recipient of the invitation only, meaning no vouching. This is not Minnesota here, okay? This is a campaign rally. You don't get to show up with 8 people named Mohammed and they can all vote because they live with you in your residence. Due to security requirements, only confirmed RSVPs will be granted access to the event, and a matching government-issued photo ID will be verified against the RSVP list by the name to enter the building. Oh, it's good enough for his campaign, but it's not good enough for America because, I mean, personally, this feels like racistry and bigotry and xenophobia. Is Ossoff in favor of Jim Crow laws? Why is he disenfranchising women of America who would love to go and participate in this, but they don't have a birth certificate? They got married, they changed their name. Life's so hard. But anyways, so bigot Jon Ossoff now is saying that you got to have an ID. And the truth is they're paranoid and freaked out about what this might mean for their party. Fun exchange here over on Fox News saying that, yeah, this guy flip-flopped. He used to say a long time ago that voter ID was perfectly acceptable. And now, because he knows what the Democrat grift is, in order to win, you can't be in favor of voter ID. Otherwise, where are your votes going to come from?
And not for me, apparently for Dems. Critics are calling out Democrat Senator Jon Ossoff for asking campaign event goers to show government ID at the door. There are a lot of pictures of this going on. But he doesn't want to require the same thing for federal elections. Last year, when the SAVE Act passed the House, Ossoff released the statement, quote, "This is a nakedly partisan, totally unworkable, bad faith bill cynically intended to disenfranchise millions of eligible voters." End of quote.
Millions.
But even that was a switch up from this comment back in 2021.
Are you open to things like voter ID if, in fact, they correct some of the other issues like early voting?
Absolutely. I think it's right and appropriate, and the widely held view of folks in Georgia and across the country, that we need to be able to make sure we're confirming the identity of folks who are participating in elections.
So in
Of course,
2021,
of
he
course.
did agree with 71% of Democrat voters that voter ID is a good idea. What changed between then and 2026?
Well, he's terrified because he's the most vulnerable Democrat on the map. He's elected in the state of Georgia, which is a conservative state that has 2 Democrat U.S. senators. It's also the home of Stacey Abrams, who engineered this mass mail-in balloting scheme election or so 2 cycles ago, right? So he understands what's at stake, which is if you actually have people who are voting and you require them to show ID that over 80% of Americans support. Like, you would think in this country, we have a lot of things we can argue about that aren't 80-20 issues. This is an 80-20 issue. This is the kind of thing that we should get done here. This Save America Act is common sense. The Democrats don't like it because it threatens their power. That's the electrical cord that runs through all these positions. They want to kneecap ICE's ability to do their jobs because they don't want deportations and they want illegal immigrants to vote.
Exactly right. That's their power base. And if they do anything to undermine that, they may lose elections forever. In fact, how much of their power base comes from this? Representative Pat Fallon said it might be as much as 1 to 5% of their entire constituency.
It's very insulting. And what it says is Democrats truly believe that they get about 1 to 5% additional voting because of lax rules in states like California and Oregon, where you don't even vote in person anymore. You vote by mail. So if you want $100 million in the lottery, you can redeem it 2 ways. What's the most secure way? You can walk in and give them the ticket, or you can mail it in. Nobody ever mails in a $100 million ticket. We should have that same standard for our federal elections.
Right. And it's an analog to criminal law. How can you validate an election when the chain of custody that shows how the election was conducted is broken? You couldn't get a criminal conviction if the blood sample was as perverted as our election chain of custody. Your case would be dismissed instantly. But our elections, like, well, it's good enough. And there's no evidence of widespread fraud, even though Joe Biden got 81 million votes and everybody changed the rules in days before the election. So it's 1 to 5%. I think that's probably low, especially when you've got vouching going on in Minnesota legally, where you can legally not even register to vote. Bring them with you on election day. That counts. Then they extend the election days and then collect the ballots that they need in order to close the margin, just like they did in Georgia. So here's more. Apparently, we're also getting confirmation on CNN that, yeah, the census is also being rigged. So in the acute localized elections, yeah, they're cheating. But on the grand scale, every 10 years, they're also cheating when it comes to the census on CNN.
One of the big things is it helps decide congressional maps.
Right.
Does this have everything to do with redistricting?
Well, it does. In fact, we know the 2020 census, the errors were almost always to the detriment of red states.
Yep.
Blue states like Rhode
Do we
Island.
know that?
We do know that. The
Yep.
Census
It's in
Bureau's
a
own
report.
audit of its work has proven that. Blue states like Rhode Island were overcounted. Rhode Island then didn't lose a seat. Red states like Alabama were undercounted. Listen, this is just a fact. It wasn't all red-blue, but it was disproportionately red-blue.
Yeah, they revised their numbers. We read through the full document here. There's a swing of, I think, 5 to 6 seats the other direction, which is why they don't want the illegal aliens to be deported, because they'll lose those congressional seats. Then you bring in the SAVE Act. Now you get ID. Maybe it's not even proof of citizenship, but at least it's ID at some level. And then ID makes it one ballot, one person. You don't have just people just dumping ballot after ballot that comes to their residence, or going and collecting them and then aggregating them and dumping them in the drop boxes in a rigged system. Now, Britt Hume, a very reasonable person with a nice accent, he's dunking on pencil neck Adam Schiff. He said, nearly everything Schiff says here is false, because Schiff's a liar. Like so much of what he has said, going back to his dishonest pronouncements about Trump and Russia and collusion there. But many media journalists continue to pay attention to his views. In fact, celebrate his views. But Pencil Neck here is getting into it with ABC, because they're not letting him get away with it. They say, hey, huge portions of America actually want ID so that we can validate who's voting. Here's this exchange.
Republicans are making a big push for the so-called SAVE Act, at least some Republicans are, that would require a proof of citizenship to be able to vote. I understand you and other Democrats oppose that. There are roughly 20 or so million voting age Americans who don't actually have the the papers that would be required to show readily available. But given the Republicans have undermined confidence in elections and the integrity of elections, what about the idea of voter ID, of photo ID being required?
Just an
to
ID.
Vote? Are you in favor of that? Can there be a compromise where Democrats and Republicans put forward photo ID as a requirement for voting?
So, Jonathan, what you've just asked is essentially Republicans have created distrust in the elections by making claims of non-existent fraud in the elections, and shouldn't we use the distrust they've created in order?
Right as he's speaking, 83% of Americans support laws requiring photo ID to vote. It's not even close.
To enact a voter suppression law, which is the SAVE Act, which would require people to have a birth certificate or passport, documents that millions of Americans don't have. Almost half the country doesn't have a passport, and I don't know where many millions of people would even find a birth certificate. So
but I asked you
phony fraud claims.
But I was asking you a different question. Photo ID. Because as you know, let's show up, there was a recent poll, there's been a lot of polls on this, but in one recent Pew poll, 83% of adults support requiring photo ID to vote. 71% of Democrats favor requiring photo ID. Is that something that you can support?
No.
And if not, why not?
It's still going to be something, Jonathan. It's still going to be something that disenfranchises people that don't have the proper real ID, driver's license ID, that don't have the ID necessary to vote, even though they are citizens.
Hey, that's not what they're saying. Just a photo ID, okay? So, okay, fine, we won't double check that they're a citizen, which we should. Just an ID, so we can validate who is committing a felony if they're not a citizen, right? You show up, this is me, I'm voting, here's my ballot. We're not checking if you're can't even do it because they know. It's California. Could you imagine what would happen if they got rid of this in California? Might be a red state again.
This is another way to simply try to suppress the vote. And the last thing I think we want to do is discourage more people, more citizens from voting while they're attacking those same elections, while they're trying to do away with absentee ballot voting, while they're trying to do away with being able to register to vote through the DMV or by the mail. So it's part of the broader disenfranchisement effort. And no, I don't think that's the right direction.
Okay, so when you get a comment like that, you know you're over the mark. They are even talking against, first of all, ABC, which shout out to them for posting 83% support it. Not 65%, not 75%, almost the entire country. And the 16% who don't support it, probably illegal aliens among U.S. adults. Probably. Actually, I think we probably have more illegal aliens than that. So that means that even some of the illegal aliens support it. Since our country is now 25% illegal aliens, that means half of them support voter ID. So come on, pencil neck. We need you to get with the program. But of course, they know. It's like, we don't care what the voters think. We're going to lose if we do this. We won't have a victory ever again. And of course, that's why they're attacking Tulsi Gabbard. Schiff, Pencilneck, Mark Warner, Ron Wyden, the three walking corpses, they say that Tulsi is a foreign agent or something. Now Tulsi has responded, coming out swinging, saying, for nearly a week, this so-called whistleblower's lawyer has falsely claimed that Tulsi violated the law by showing up there in Fulton or doing something else. And today, we're actually laying out the facts here. Neither the Biden era nor the Trump-appointed Intelligence Community Inspector General ever found any allegations against her credible. In fact, this guy's client was informed that Tulsi's followed the rules and given security guidance and more. But his client is still an intelligence community employee and has the right to report the fact of existence, but not the contents of the complaint to Congress. And so the rights don't extend to the attorney. And all of these allegations are frankly theatrical, which we're very used to with the Democrats. Full letter came out from the general counsel from Tulsi's team. Quick highlights on it. They say, all right, whistleblower lawyer, Bakaj, Andrew, we have gotten your letter. And now in the letter, you falsely allege misconduct from Tulsi. You demand security guidance. We've already given it to you. You're now threatening an unclassified briefing and more. You demand access to these things, but you're misrepresenting the law. You're ignoring the fact that Tulsi has followed the law throughout the entire process. And your complaint from your client is not credible at all. At no time did either intelligence community, not Joe Biden's, not Donald Trump's, did anybody find this was valid. In fact, acting IG Tamara Johnson, she said that she was unable to determine the credibility of your complaint, despite the fact that this determination is required by law. In order to advance it, it's got to be credible. In fact, in addition to that, then on June 9th, there was a supplemental determination. No one can determine that your guy's credible. So now you want to go cry to Congress about it. That's fine. You've indicated that you intend to go to Congress, to the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. And this is how they rig everything, man. It's like flashbacks to the Hillary Clinton Steele dossier that they shoved in the ICA, the classified annex, and then used to attack Trump and MAGA his entire first term. Remember, same thing is they're attempting to do it here. We cannot let that happen. You've indicated that you're going to go cry to Congress about this, and they say, well, that's illegal. I remind you that there is clear statutory mechanisms by which you're allowed to report these complaints, and you're violating those processes. In fact, the highly classified nature of all of this increases the risk that you break the law, and we'll prosecute you for that. Maybe we'll raid you too. Now, despite your contentions to the contrary, the law is what the law is, and all of this has been properly transmitted to Congress. So with all that said, we have consistently reiterated Tulsi's commitment to proper whistleblower transparency. She's met all notification requirements. Everything is being done by the book, signed the lawyer called Jack Deaver, general counsel for the DNI. And Tulsi herself also responded. She says, you know, Mark Warner and his friends in the propaganda media have repeatedly lied to the American people, saying that I or the DNI hid some sort of whistleblower complaint about elections. Now, I am not, nor I have ever been in possession of this complaint. First time I ever saw the complaint was 2 weeks ago when I reviewed it so that we could share it with Congress. Now, as vice chair of the committee, Warner knows very well that whistleblower complaints that contain highly classified info, even if they contain baseless allegations like this one, must be secured. Okay, when a complaint comes in, you have to treat it like a legitimate thing, even if it is illegitimate. And then what they do, their little scam is they say, oh, look, see, they're treating this legitimately. That means it is legitimate. They say, no, it's not. We got it. It's invalid. We sent it to you. Either Warner knows these facts as in intentionally lying, probably true to the American people, or he doesn't have a clue as to how these things work and therefore is not qualified to be in the Senate. Oh, man. That's like that meme with those two buttons. Mark Warner's an idiot or Mark Warner's a liar. Which one? Certainly not the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee. So she lays out the chronology. I learned about it in June. It required special handling because they're making, sensitive allegations. Security standards include the sensitive intelligence, and so we have to secure it. Once they secure it, then they say, oh, see, they're securing the complaint. That means they're guilty. Then they reviewed it. Biden's people reviewed it. No one found it to be credible. I passed it off to RIG, took action. And so what the Democrats are doing now is undermining the DNI, essentially, spreading lies and baseless accusations to undermine our national security and to essentially deviate all of our attention away from Tulsi being there in Fulton, to wreck the credibility of that investigation, which will show massive election fraud, which is prompting a lot of momentum for the SAVE Act because we want secure elections. So Tulsi is firing back. And Harmeet was also out. She said, we have to protect the integrity of our elections. It's a big part of Tulsi and what she's doing. And she should reassure you that because she's there.
I don't think there's any dispute that the conduct of our elections, which are literally the way that our government comes into power, is a national security issue, and the security of our elections is
right.
incredibly important. I'm comforted as a citizen and as someone at the Department of Justice by the fact that we have national security eyes on this, as well as criminal and civil rights review. Because at the end of the day, as a voter myself and someone who's been involved in politics before I took this job, I'd like every citizen to vote. And a lot of people don't vote. They don't have confidence, they don't care. I think it's important that people have confidence in the outcome of our elections, which will in turn drive people to accept the outcome of the elections and also be more likely to vote. I think that's a very good thing, whoever they're voting for.
Yes, it's self-governance, and we all get one vote. If somebody gets 2 votes or 3 votes, then our share of that governance is diminished aggressively. And so we just can't, well, we want more people to participate in the thing. No, we actually don't. We want an election that has integrity to it, not an election that enfranchises everybody to the detriment of the integrity. And even John Fetterman gets it. One of the Democrats who has a functional brain sometimes, here's what he said on with Fox.
And now me as a Democrat, I do not believe that it's unreasonable or to show ID just to vote. And I remind everybody that less than a year ago in Wisconsin, they added that to the Constitution by a 63%, passing, to put that in the Constitution that you have to show ID to vote. And they also elected a very, very liberal justice into their Supreme Court. So it's not a radical idea for regular Americans to show your ID to vote.
No.
And it's absolutely, those things are not Jim Crow or anything. Of course, that's part of an awful, awful legacy of our nation for so long ago. But where we are now, trying to find a way forward, just trying to call balls and strikes, seeing what's unreasonable, hopefully we don't have to do, and pay the TSA people and everyone, secure our border, and focus on deporting all of those kinds of criminals, wherever they are. That's the guy that votes for that and supports that as a Democrat, and I don't ever want to vote to shut our government down again.
Right. And
he sounds like a Republican, for crying out loud. Maybe he'll flip on over and join us, because that's all very reasonable policy that we'd like the party to see. But that's not what they say. Chuck Schumer and the rest of them say that actually it's racism. Hakeem was having a tough time on with CNN, and CNN was saying, a lot of Democrats also want voter ID. We saw it on ABC. Now we see it on CNN.
On their own, and we completely and totally support that. What Donald Trump wants to do is try to nationalize the election. Translation, steal it. And we're not going to let it happen. We stopped them in terms of their gerrymandering efforts, where they...
I think I started that late. Let me start here.
Basic ID in order to vote is really popular.
Yeah.
A Pew poll from a few months ago showed 83% of Americans, including 71% of your fellow Democrats, support requiring an ID to vote. Why are they wrong?
Because they're racist. Jim Crow.
I haven't said that they're wrong. We know that...
But you're about to.
States are the ones who are empowered to conduct elections, and every state...
and Congress can also set terms for those elections. So why don't you vote for the SAVE Act?
Should be allowed to decide the best way to proceed to ensure that there's a free and fair election. Here in New York, there are, in fact, voter identification requirements. The question is that what Republicans are trying to do is to engage in clear and blatant voter suppression. They know.
All right, so they got his talking points from Pencil Neck on their morning meeting this morning. So we have all of that, but turns out there are illegal aliens voting in our elections. Nick Sorter clipped this one over from Fox today. A woman just convicted of voter fraud. Wow.
Just convicted a woman in Massachusetts of voter fraud. Prosecutors say that she also stole more than $400,000 in federal benefits. White House correspondent Aisha Hasni reports live from the North Lawn. Hi, Aisha.
Hey there, Martha. We're talking about a 59-year-old illegal immigrant who's been in the country for years, stole someone else's identity, and then voted in the 2024 presidential election. Take a look at this photo here. This is Lina Maria Arovio Hernandez. In this picture, you can see her, Martha, wearing that I voted sticker that we all get when we go to cast our ballots. She's also convicted of stealing $400,000, as you mentioned, in benefits.
Wow.
She apparently used her fake identity to obtain multiple state IDs and also a passport. So the president this morning, or excuse me, on Sunday, posted this on Truth Social. America's elections are rigged, stolen, and a laughing.
It's true.
Just convicted a
Other
woman.
countries can have their entire election completed in one night, but we can't because we have water main breaks and we have illegal aliens like that who come in, steal someone's ID. It's not a victimless crime. Go vote in our elections, stealing our share of our vote, and to boot, ripping off another $400,000 in whatever, government benefits or something. So, yeah, we got to get a handle on this. President Trump is right. And it's also the media, by the way. They're also in on the rigging. This was a great clip over from Maze Moore on X. Awesome person to follow. Great reporting and great editing. Says journalist Catherine Herridge was instructed back in 2020, remember that in the midterms, to wait until after the midterms to report the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop. CIA was involved in creating talking points for Joe Biden. FBI was involved in suppressing the Biden laptop by colluding with the social media companies. Everywhere we look, the media is in on it, and we're just the victims of their propaganda. Here's this clip.
Experts say it has all the hallmarks of information laundering.
This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
Eric O'Neill is a former FBI operative.
Steal the information with a cyber attack, get the emails from Hunter Biden's account, and then put them on these laptops that are left at a repair store.
Wow.
And that's how the information is now laundered
It's all
into the
fake,
public.
yeah,
Who
all
do you
fake.
think is behind this?
Russians.
Well, the Russians would be my number one guess.
The goal of these incidents appears to be the same, to cast a cloud over the frontrunner in the closing weeks of the campaign using a drip, drip, drip of emails that create the air of scandal, even though Republican-led congressional investigations have never uncovered any evidence of wrongdoing by Vice President Biden.
Confident based on your analysis this is Hunter Biden's data and that it's real?
Yes.
Lanterman and his son Sean, both digital forensic experts, recovered images of credit cards, a driver's license, social security number.
Just the sheer volume of what we're dealing with, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to fabricate.
Mr. Biden
It was as real as it comes.
has consistently denied knowledge of his son's work or financially benefiting from it.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas.
Rigged across the board, and the media is complicit in it. But Anna Paulina Luna said, if the Senate does not pass the SAVE Act, they have failed the American people. And we agree. Here's the president over on Fox and Friends, little snippet here.
President Trump is drawing attention to his SAVE Act when asked about his plans to unify the country during his Super Bowl interview yesterday.
Well, you know, we're working on the Save America Act, which is going to secure up a lot of things, but secure up our voting. I think people would like to do it, and I think Democrats would too. And you ask Democrats, it's polling at 82% with Democrats.
Meanwhile, Democrat Senator Adam Schiff is being confronted on this polling showing an overwhelming 83% of Americans supporting requiring a photo ID to vote.
They hate it.
71% of Democrats favor requiring photo ID. Is that something that you can support?
No.
And if not, why not?
It's still going to be something, Jonathan. It's still going to be something.
Voter suppression from pencil neck Schiff. So SAVE Act needs to make its way through. We hope that we get it delivered very, very soon. And while all this was happening, Van Jones went out and sat down with 3 black people who voted for Trump. 2 women and 1 man. Officer Lou shared this one and said, would you vote for Trump again, you MAGA people? Here's how this exchange went.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump again, yes or no?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this next one.
She said yes. It's immediately yes. No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump? Yes or no?
1,000% absolutely yes.
All right. So, man, shout out to all our MAGA brothers and sisters out there, man. We love you guys. And we appreciate this exchange. Van Jones having some fun out there. And apparently they got IDs. They can vote. They voted multiple times and they can vote. So I don't know what Kamala is so upset about or what Adam Schiff is so upset about. So lots of people can get IDs and vote. It's very, very basic stuff. But the Democrats don't want that to happen because they want illegal aliens to come in and take votes away from the rest of us who want to go vote for President Trump. We're excited to do that, to vote for America First candidates who care about America. And they don't want that to happen. They'd rather illegal aliens and Democrat ballot harvesters go get multiple votes that they can use in their campaigns against the rest of us. Not going to happen anymore. So we're going to keep the pressure here on the senators. Pass the SAVE Act and let's get it done. All right, my friends, if you're just joining us, we had a great stream. Thank you for being here. And of course, thank you for subscribing to our channel. We covered some good stuff today. Lots to unpack in the Fulton County matter. If you're just getting here, we spent some time going through the docket. Case got unsealed on Saturday. We'll come back tomorrow. The search warrant should be here tomorrow. And we can't wait to read it. So that'll be here. We went through some filings, got to see some of the pictures and affidavits that are happening. DOJ kind of pausing the other civil matters since they got the files, refreshed our recollection on some of the problems with modems and with serial numbers and with records requests. We were in McAfee's courtroom today. We heard from a local Senator Dolezal and about how election integrity actually increases turnout, not the opposite. Then we made some fun of John Ossoff, this guy who is now ranting and raving about election ID. And turns out he's requiring mandatory ID at his campaign rallies because he's worried about security. So are we when it comes to elections. Lots of clips in this segment, but reaction from Schiff and Pencilneck and Hakeem and Tulsi Gabbard. Harmeet Dillon was here. We had Fetterman. Oh, I think I missed this one. Sorry, Brandon. Here's this one. Brandon was saying we have to pass the SAVE Act. Brandon Gill, a rep.
I expect every Republican in the House to vote for the SAVE Act. This is something we've been talking about for a long time. And, I think it's particularly relevant after 4 years of Joe Biden letting in 15 million plus illegal aliens into the country. What we want to say is simply that only if you are an American citizen should you be voting in American elections. A core part of national sovereignty is the ability to determine that only our people, only the people who have full allegiance to America and its institutions should be voting. And remember that every time an illegal alien votes in American elections, that waters down or disenfranchises American citizens who should have sole representative power in this country. This is something that the vast majority of Americans agree with, and we're going to get it passed.
So true. Yeah, every illegal vote takes from your vote. Every illegal alien who gets SNAP benefits is taking from an American who could use those SNAP benefits. Every illegal Somalian or whomever is stealing $19 billion for their fake Leering Center, whether they're citizens or not, that's stealing from somebody else who needs it. Maybe an actually autistic person, not just a fake Somali autistic person like their mayor. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Happy Monday. Hopefully you've recovered from the invasion during the Super Bowl at halftime from those foreigners with their foreign flags. You know how much we hate those foreign flags waving around on American soil. Can't stand it. But now, let's see who's here and let's see what you say about it and more. And thanks for subscribing if you haven't already done that. We also have a great members only community. We had a great live stream this morning. We talked about, the Galen stuff, Maxwell pleading the fifth this morning. And we talked about the Super Bowl. Yeah, about that extravaganza this morning. It was a good time. We have a great members only community. Thank you for supporting us and joining us on Locals, on YouTube, or on Substack if you want to head over there as well. We got some donos. We got some new membos. Speaking of membos, we got some new membos in the house. And, oh man, That looks like a fun game. Man, you know you can vibe code all these games and stuff now. It's like you can vibe code some fun political games. It's not a bad one. Oh, here's one. This is Fannie Willis. What you talking about, Fannie Willis? Yeah, right here. Right there. And there's that little cat doing the dance. Nathan Wade, Fannie doing the wink. She belongs in jail. All right, so thank you for those Mr. Bites. Yeah, this morning we had some locals problems. I emailed locals, by the way. I said our stream dropped off in the middle of the stream. Hopefully it's been good this afternoon. Mr. Bites, 31 months as a member, says locals was great until Rumble bought it. It does feel like it's kind of been forgotten about a little bit, but we sent them an email and they're turning the gears back over there. Thank you, Mr. Bites, for being here for 31 months. Don't have to sign up on locals. You're on YouTube. It's great to have you on YouTube. Turbo. Hey, Rob, does it make me a cultist to upvote your stream before it even exists? I don't think so. I think that makes you like clairvoyant or something. You can transcend space and time. It's pretty awesome. No, it's pretty cool. You should teach us how to do it so we can go like the stream in the future. Hey, David Swindle, what's up? Thank you, David. Welcome aboard. We'll see you tomorrow morning. We do members only streams in the mornings. We'd love to have you. Come join us. We talk about some of the other cases that we can't get to here. Great to have you, David. Granny Joe, can someone please be held accountable? Please, please, please. We're working on it. Yeah, we're working on it. There's a criminal investigation. They got their hands on those docs. And it's out of Georgia, actually, which we thought last week it was out of Missouri, but turns out it's Georgia. Hey, E-Special Sav, here's a little fun video game where you just are blasting these little creatures. And that was Fannie and Nathan Wade. That's pretty funny there. Although we don't condone any political violence. This is just a game and it's a meme, okay? It's not violent. FBI agents, relax. Mizzy M, happy Monday, everyone. Make it a great week. Indeed, Mizzy M. Thank you, Mizzy M. It's going to be a beautiful week. Thank you for the nice dono. We're going to be jamming here all week long, baby. We can't wait for it. Sheila the Pooh. Sheila, 20 new membos coming in. Look how nice. Jim Burns Jr., welcome. Spitfire is here. Alicia's Art Studio, great to meet you. We got Embers of Me, Open Circles Art, Feral AF, love it. Marcus McCusker in the house. What's up, Bus Life? We got Sweet Pea is here. Tim Shoemaker, Scott T. GMO, Mike Frost, welcome. Hextile is here. AG458, Dee Capital Change, Janet Clayton. We got Stephen Conger, Youthon, RN, and Scoop Dog. Saying shout out to the gifters, man. We love the gifters in the house. Sheila, thank you for bringing 20 new friends in. We'll meet everybody in the morning or grab the stream from this morning. It was a good... Mock Chanel, 20 more friends. Good to see you, Mock Chanel. Thanks for bringing them in here. No More Me. What's up, Mustang Gary? Antiquated Ether. We got M. Curro. Binky the Toaster. Binky's here. Rational Gaze, the Story Collector. What's up? SVT Medic is here. Grey Wolf. NC Raider Red. Catherine, welcome. Dan Lee. R. Criminger, Susan, B-Dub, what's up? Crisis Face, Topher, Tech Guru, Truon, Shabada Pressure is here. Wow, I think that's Joe Biden. Welcome, Joe Biden, the former president is here. Truon Shabada Pressure, 6621 is here. Welcome. Stigma of the Rose, gifted membos, courtesy of Mock Schnell. Good to see you, Mock Schnell, and welcome new membo friends. We're very grateful to have you. Thanks for supporting our work. Fillin' Man also joining up. Flieger Man also joining up. We'll see you in the morning, man. Great to see you both. And 7 months as a membo for Lost Tunes. 7 months. 2 more. Full baby in the house. Man, great to see all these new membos. Can't wait to see everybody tomorrow. Object Class Keeter. Imagine being mad when a court in one jurisdiction signs a warrant in another. I recall them being fine in 2022 when DC signed a warrant for Florida. Well, I think that was our mistake on it. And I don't know if it was a mistake or if it was just new knowledge. But the original... Here, let me just open some of these real quickly. Because I thought that another warrant was attached here. Let me just take a quick look at this. No, oh yeah, that is it, I think, here. So like, what did this say? Okay, yeah, so they also attached this as an exhibit. Northern District of Georgia. Looks like it did come out of there, and this was signed by a local judge. Yeah, so they added that, it looks like, to the docket today. or it was part of their original filing. And then this all got unsealed on Saturday. But there was rumors that it was out of Missouri, and we didn't know officially. Now we know officially. Signed by Salinas, Catherine M. Salinas, magistrate judge. And I should have queued that up earlier during the segment. But I think we actually looked at this or looked at portions of this before. But we also heard that it was another judge. We also heard, I think, from the Trump people that it was out in Missouri. But now it's official. It's out of Georgia. And the affidavit should come tomorrow, too. So lots more clarity when things are unsealed. We're kind of in the fog of war. But it looks like it was all in Georgia, as far as we can tell. We'll see. We'll learn a lot more tomorrow. We'll know for sure tomorrow. Object class, Chubby. Suing to stop a federal criminal investigation. How can anyone with an actual functioning brain not just see how crazy and damning it is for them? Yeah, and then they make these arguments like Fourth Amendment arguments, and then they run around and they try to undermine the magistrate judge, right? They're saying, actually, that judge issued a bad search warrant. And so now we're suing with a different judge to get you to override that judge, rather than, it sounds like, going directly to that judge and trying to quash the warrant. Right? They could go directly to Salinas and quash the warrant. They're not doing that. They're going to a different judge and filing a lawsuit for a return of property, which is basically the same strategy that the illegal aliens use. But they're not illegals. They're a citizen, so they don't get those same privileges. They don't get illegal alien due process plus like the illegals get. Rick D. Only in a blue state, LOL, a landlord is trying to break a lease and evict a chicken fingers restaurant for smelling like chicken fingers. Lawsuit claims a Boston landlord is trying to boot a Raising Cane's location because the restaurant smells like chicken fingers. Well, yeah. Interesting lawsuit. I don't know. I don't know where that one's going to go. Did they switch it? Were they going to be a hamburger place and now they're making chicken and now they're upset about that? All right, this old guy. Thank you, Rick. Having been present at the execution of a search warrant by the FBI, says this old guy, I can tell you that they are very thorough and they don't leave anything that is mentioned on the warrant. If I were betting, I'd say that if there is anything that was in that warehouse that incriminates an election official, the FBI now has that in their possession. 100%, yeah. Hopefully you weren't on the receiving end of that warrant, this old guy. But that is true, yeah. Pictures, labels. The count thing is a little bit strange. I would, there's a count that you can do, but it's a cube, right? So what if it's off-sided? You can't see inside the cube, but you can guess based on, so some of them might have been estimates, but I'm sure they'll do a full, thorough inventory once they leave that location. Whoa, it's maybe Whirlpool. Oh, it's Trinal Galaxy. Hey, Trinal Galaxy, what's up? 5 years seems really short. Barely one election cycle. So to deal with such crimes and abuses, it's right. Yeah, and when judges say you have no standing, or it's not right, or it's moot, oh, Joe Biden already won, this is all moot, it's already been certified, so now you can't sue. Assuming you get someone that will look into it, they only get a year at most, assuming they start immediately. Yeah, and then they just drag it out. And they do the, we're looking into it thing. Oh yeah, send us we're looking into it. Years go by, another year goes by. Fannie Willis and their office just shredding a bunch of files. So then the statutes of limitations all expire. It's all, they know what they're doing. They're not idiots. Same thing happens with Comey, Brennan, Clapper. All just waiting it out. Commit their crimes, wait it out, get away with everything. A bad poet. How can McAfee not be conflicted when he was IG? Or how can McAfee not be conflicted when he donated to Fannie Willis? A bad poet. Because he says he can set all of that aside and because he gets to decide on his own qualifications. It's perfect. Thank you for that, a bad poet. Psychological projectionist says the enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It's the illusion of knowledge. Oh, from Stephen Hawking, huh? Yeah, a lot of journalists know the 2020 was not stolen. How? Well, because it is confirmation bias, really. They are wanting that to be true. And they just say it as a conclusion. But if you ask them to dig into it or, show me, they say, well, you haven't proven. It's like they say you have an absence of evidence to prove it. And for that absence of evidence, they often will refer to court cases that dismissed a bunch of the cases before we even got to the merits on any of the litigation. Then you say, well, we wanted an investigation to be opened by Brian Kemp's office. He says he concluded it with no findings. And that's good enough for them. We say, well, what was that investigation actually? Because the sitting senator said that he got a phone call from the guy leading the investigation who said that they're not going to pursue anything because he wants to be a team player and get promoted to a judge. Jeffrey Adams, California federal judge just blocked the California law requiring ICE to demask. Oh, that's a good one. So California passed a law requiring ICE to demask, and a federal judge just said no, that's overriding federal law or federal execution and enforcement. Interesting. Hey, what's going on, U.S. Army? DCF sleeps with Tarpon Springs PD. Man, you mean like takes naps together? Thank you for that, DCF. Welcome aboard, our newest supporter. We'll see you in the morning. Hey, Hodge, what's up? 22 months as a member. Thank you, Hodge. It's over 2 babies. Thank you, Rob, for your tenacity and dedication. Man, thank you, Hodge. Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making this possible. Grateful to be here with you. We have corruption to expose together. It's a real honor and a privilege. Thank you, Hodge. We appreciate that. Hey, Biltong is here. You know, this isn't just Biltong. It's premium meat, real craftsmanship, clean ingredients, all made in-house and sold direct. You can get yours at BiltongUSA.com. Code Robert, you'll save 10% off. Man, shout out to Biltong. James Burlow. Hey, don't forget that 36 million illegal aliens give Democrats up to 44 House seats. Yeah, that sounds about right, because our share of representation is now like 1 to 800,000 people. 1 representative for every 800,000. For our founders, it was like 1 to 50,000 back at that time. So early Americans had way more representation in their government than we do. And it just gets worse and worse by the year. It just gets less representation, more illegal aliens, less votes that actually are 1 American citizen, 1 vote. Yeah, 44 House seats. Just think about it. It's wild. Hey, what's up, Trino Galaxy? You got to love how they say we are racist for calling for this and then say it's because such and such group is too stupid to get whatever documentation. Yeah, it is really pretty offensive. They shifted it. Kamala's now saying rural people can't go out and get votes. And Schiff is saying, I think it was Raskin or somebody was saying women. Women get married and they change their names. Oh, so you'll never vote again under Trump, in Trump's America. Be a break. All right, thank you, Trino. Hey, Pete Lounsbury. What's up, Pete? Man, thank you for signing up. We appreciate that. Our newest member. Pete Lounsbury in the house. We'll see you in the morning. Grab the stream from this morning. We had a good time. Baby Lewis is in the house on Locals. Robert, this is for you on your great leadership and knowledge for the Watcher family. I have prayers for all the family and for your new family to be. Oh, Baby Lewis. God bless all. God bless you back, Baby Lewis. Thank you for the prayers for all of us here. We have a beautiful family here. Thank you for being a part of it, Baby Lewis. James Burlow says, if you're not capable of getting an ID, they shouldn't be voting. Yeah, there's a lot of people that probably shouldn't be voting. And being enabled to get an ID, I've seen also the argument that, oh, it's a poll tax. If you require somebody to have voter ID, it's a tax on them. Okay, well, then just give it to them for free. Have an indigency exception. You need an ID to do anything, right? Basically, any government service, you have to have ID to interface. Why should voting be any different? But they're all just fake excuses. There's no real reason why this can't be the rule or the default, other than it would wreck their elections and their victories. Mock Schnell. I remember back, I think it was 2006, a programmer showed how he supposedly fixed an electronic voting machine to change a set number of votes to the opponent. I can write old code to do that for old DOS. Oh yeah, you could probably just vibe code right into Dominion now. Just hop on Claude Code, CLI, boom, hack into this thing. Oh, no problem. I have that done for you in a minute. How many votes do you want to give Joe Biden? Do the whole thing, no problem. I would guess. Mock Schnell. Yeah, and I think there was more recent. Like, didn't Jovan Pulitzer do something like that too? Recently? Pretty sure he did. Somebody did. One of the things, Mike Lindell, somebody in one of his groups. Thank you, Mock Schnell. We appreciate you. Mark Butcher. Hey, Swalwell equals small snail equals crooked. Either way. Yeah, I think that's a Very good observation there. Swalwell equals small snail. And we call him, I've seen some people say, he's got some interesting names. I won't say that here because this is a family show. But thank you, Mark Butcher. He is crooked either way. That guy's going wild, too. He's running for governor, so he has to go extra hard, insane leftist in California. It's been wild to watch. Hey, K-Bean. Thank you, K-Bean. Congrats. We just crossed 570 on YouTube. Man, it's good to be there. Slow road, man. We're marching our way up. Thank you, K-Bean. And thank you, friends, for making that happen. I think I was looking at the numbers. Something like 40% of the people who watch this show don't subscribe because they hate me. I guess I'll try harder and earn it. Chubby, Mr. Bites is me. YouTube is now showing handles again from Chubby. You over there? Yeah, YouTube, I think YouTube is kind of, transy on that. Sometimes it's handles, sometimes it's names. It can't figure out what it is. LZ, thank you, Chubby. LZ, we keep hearing from Democrats about how stupid MAGA voters are. Yeah, it's true. We hear that a lot. So wouldn't making it harder to get a voter ID help Democrats who are so much smarter than the MAGA crowd? Yeah, and Kamala was also saying it was the ruralers, the rural voters. It's like, okay, those are red people, mostly. The blues are all living in the big cities in their disgusting degeneracy. So wouldn't that actually help them, not hurt them? No, the local cities are the fraud centers. Everybody's just sending out ballots hand over fist, mailing them automatically, and then harvesting them for their party. Hey, what's up, K-Bean? George Klaus, the gavel master in the house. George is back. Get out of here. George, what's up? George Klaus, the gavel master in the house right there. Dun, 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 right there. Get out of the way. Thank you, George, man. Love that thing. That thing's got some girth and some heft to it. You know how much we appreciate that. Thank you, K-Bean. Shout out to George. We love you, George. Appreciate the gavel. Swap part. Okay, so when they prove Trump really won, at least with regard to Georgia, can he and the RNC sue for all of their campaign expenses? That's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting sue for monetary damages. Another angle there. And yeah, I don't know. I think that you're going to run into probably, who are you suing, I guess? Who are you suing for those damages? There's going to be a criminal prosecution, so maybe they could tack that on as restitution to whomever gets prosecuted. But yeah, we got a lot of things we got to battle. Also, we need Congress. We need Congress and the Senate to kick out Ossoff and Warnock. We need them to say, actually, we've discovered you sent in illegitimate senators, so we reject them. And the Constitution says they can. So that should happen too. Got a lot of work to do. This old guy, Rob, I was present at the FBI raid because my timing sucked while meeting with one of the individuals who were ultimately indicted in a massive telecommunications fraud investigation. No, I was not indicted, but I did testify. This old guy. That sounds like a rough day. It sounds like Nadine's day. Nadine's sitting at home, watching live streams on YouTube. Oh, FBI's here. What? You're standing there. You're like, oh yeah, no, I'm here. Hi, I'm just here to disconnect my internet with you guys. Service has been a little bit bad. Feds raid the place. This old guy standing there with his cable modem. Thank you, this old guy. I don't know what happened, man. But I'm glad you weren't indicted. That's good news. Rub some dirt on it. Hey, 27 months, rub some dirt. Hey, that's right. 9 times 3, 27. Pretty sure. Not really surprising. It only took one time after you were married. Oh, I know. It's a fun one. Yeah, we were talking about, we're pregnant now. We got a new baby coming in the house right here. Look at this thing. Coming soon. Is that the right direction? It's like outer space. I can't tell. I think it's that way. We got a new baby coming soon, July 2026. And we were having some fun talking about it this morning. And I said, yeah, right after the wedding, it happened. It's like, first shot, baby. It happened. Nailed it. Boom. Nailed it. Hey, what's up? We got Trino Galaxy. Hey, thanks to the mods for a gift to go with my message. Yeah, Trino, that's a good gift for you. And this is appropriate too, because Rub Some Dirt on It is also Whirlpool Galaxy, our resident astronomer and photographer. And so it's a nice sandwich and transition right between you two. Trino, thank you for being here. 7 months. Almost a full term here. Happy to have you. We got Boopsy. What's up, Boopsy? Nice to see you. Happy Monday. The guy who died saving the life of a Polish person getting the Medal of Honor is from the exact same unit as my son. Shout out. Heroes in that brigade. Man, shout out to the 1st Brigade, 222, 10th Mountain Division, located in Fort Drum. But he did that years ago and my son just joined. Well, he's joined a brigade with a legacy. Oopsie, man, shout out to your son. Thank you to him for his service, and thank you to all of our amazing men and women in the 1st Brigade and everywhere. Boopsie, shout out. Man, and shout out to your boy. And shout out to you for being a good mom and being proud of your boy. We love our mamas here. Thank you, Boopsie. Hey, CFB, would you do an episode describing treason and how it became illegal? Add to that why the Republican Party was created in the beginning. Man, that's a good idea, CFB. Treason. I would really like to do an episode on treason when somebody gets charged with it. You know, that'd be a good one. Oh yeah, today we're talking about treason because a RICO indictment just dropped that got Pencil Neck Schiff, Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Jack Smith. Yeah! Let's talk about treason. We'll talk about it and Alejandro Mayorkas, perhaps the biggest traitor of them all, who sat there and let our country be ransacked by his pals and foreign invaders like a disgusting person who now is, I guess, got a nice big fat contract for millions of dollars in some agency. Sick. All right, my friends, let's see. First of all, thank you for those. Those were very nice and generous. Love hanging with you. Love the readings and the comments. Yeah, so locals over on... The heck was that? Something just fell off the microphone. I don't even know what that was. Hopefully it stays here. Don't fall. All right. Hey, what's going on? We got Mo Gma from Missouri says, wow, the Democrats voted to require all to produce birth certificates and marriage licenses and social security cards and utility bills to get a real ID by May, but say that people can't get these papers and don't have access to them. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And if you noticed on that ABC clip, it's almost not even about citizenship. Like that's important, obviously, but how about just ID? Like show an ID. Will you even do that? Doesn't have to prove citizenship, but like, can you just show a picture and a name? No, I'm not. Garbanzo, man, you're still getting buffering on locals. Man, sorry about that, Garbanzo. So we had some locals problems. Let me just share this for our locals friends so I can share with you what happened. They say they're working on it, but this happened this morning on our outgoing feed. So this morning on our members only stream, you can see which one of these was locals. Okay. Everything else just kept working. Locals just crapped out. So my apologies on that. If you're experiencing that, but I don't think that's on our end because the other feeds were working beautifully. So as we stream out, then it goes to a third party and then it streams out to the other ones. And so YouTube and Substack were working, but locals, womp. But I emailed them. They said they're on it. So hopefully they give us some guidance by tomorrow and we'll come back and clear that up. But sorry about that, locals friends. Hopefully nobody else had any buffering. Your boy has 0 dropped frames. We want no dropped frames ever. Oh, Dan is here sharing an image of Ilhan. Ilhan, of course, now wearing a new shirt called I Survived the Apple Cider Vinegar Hoax of 2022. 26. Womp. Yeah, when she got squirted by that weird dude in that weird incident. Very strange. He's been charged federally, right? So we'll see what happens there. All right, so my friends, let's take a look at some comments on X. Then we'll wrap it up for the day. Members, of course, we'll be back in the morning to get into it again. Neuro D, man, good to see you on X. Thank you for shouting out the X feed. And a couple other comments. Hey, a bad poet. Yeah, a bad poet is here. No way is McAfee not conflicted about anything to do with the elections. He was the IG. Hello, ethics commissioner, do your job. They should take the names of every lawyer sticking their nose in this and investigate them for RICO. The lawyers who were involved in the cover-up, I think is what you mean. Yeah, here's one. B. Torn. Ossoff is another example of the first hyperbole and must be protected at all costs. Yeah, vote Democrat or else you get beaten, basically. That's right. If you're not anti-racist, then you are a racist. What does that mean? Anti-racist means you have to be a communist like they are and hate whatever they hate, which is largely white people and Christians. So that's their idea. And, many people don't want to get tribal. Many people don't want to join, to get activated along these cross sections, but they're doing it. So, it's their rules. OTR, another great show. Rob, 2026 is going to be crazy. I think so too. I'm thinking, speaking of a year, my wife, Victoria, another year older today. Happy birthday, Victoria, Mrs. OTR Smokehouse in the house. Happy birthday. Good to see you, man. Thank you guys both for watching the show. Victoria, may you and your amazing husband have a tremendous celebration today as we march another year wiser and even more beautiful than ever before. Happy birthday, OTR Smokehouse. And Neuro D, thanks for linking us up over on Locals, which is where we will be tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Arizona, 8 a.m. California time. We're going to have a great stream. We're going to see what the Tuesday has in store for us. And then, of course, we're coming back tomorrow. We're going to get into it again. Whoa. Oh, I thought that was like a naked woman over on our Locals. That doesn't incentivize you to join. I don't know what will. But she wasn't naked. All right. So just saying, I thought she may have been naked. It was a thing. I'm glad it's not naked. I'm glad it's not on the screen. All right. So my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Thanks for going through the day and the details. We'll come back tomorrow. We will get into it again. We really hope to see you here. Before we wrap on the day, big thanks to our amazing mods. See you later. I see Just Rhonda's heading out of here. Amber, good to see you. K-Bean, cheers up. Live the life. What's up, Just Rhonda? Man, good to see everybody over there. We've got Rumble still working. Yes, it is. Michael Morpheus, what's up? Common Sense, good to see you. Flea Speech, what's up, J-Ma? Billy the Kid, nice to see you. Granny's over there too, man. What a nice day. Good to see everybody over there. And our Locals friends. I hope it's working. I haven't seen too many. Yeah, good shot, Rob. I know what you're talking about. All right, so Londo, good night. Adesia, great to see you. Boopsy, good to see you. And the Rubos, man, have a blessed night, Boopsy. Very nice to see you. All right, so my friends. Ravicus. Yeah, that's that image over there. All right, so my friends, it's been a beautiful day and a beautiful stream. Tomorrow, we will be back here to get into it again. Thank you to our amazing mods. Muffin Rando, we got John in the house. Big shout outs to Donut, Mind Me in the house. We also got K-Bean, Modern Forest, Carrie B. We got Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Geegum Geegum, Elliot, and Just Rhonda. Mod in the fort down for us, keeping things nice and beautiful around here. My friends, it's been a beautiful day. Happy Monday. We're going to have a great week together. Thank you for coming back tomorrow to get into it again, because we are coming back here. Same time, same place. Hopefully we have that search warrant. Can't wait to unpack that one. And hopefully you join us, because we're coming back. And in order to do this whole thing appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here, so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very, very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. We brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we exposed corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through